Evergreen Town Hall. We are the class of Leadership Evergreen 24. Leadership Evergreen is a nonprofit organization in our community that prepares, informs, and qualifies leaders who possess a broad understanding, respect, and commitment to the history and culture of our mountain community. To achieve its vision, Leadership Evergreen offers participants opportunities to learn from, interact with community leaders, and to enhance and strengthen their leadership abilities, all to solve issues that impact our mountain community. Leadership Evergreen is dedicated to educating and empowering individuals who want to make a difference in our mountain community. Through an engaging program, participants gain insight into local government, special districts, and the organizations that fill gaps and solve problems. This program consists of monthly modules covering a wide range of topics, including leadership development, nonprofit, natural resources, recreation, environment, public, community service, health, care, and economic development. These interaction sessions provided participants with valuable knowledge, hands-on experience in community leadership. I can see now. One of the most impactful aspects of Leadership Evergreen is its ability to bring together individuals from diverse backgrounds who share a common goal: to give back. The program has welcomed influential business leaders, homemakers, small business owners, newcomers, lifelong residents, and dedicated volunteers who want to contribute to our Evergreen community. Whether you're a natural leader or someone who thrives behind the scenes, there is a place for you in Leadership Evergreen. Recently, our town mayor, John Ellis, passed away, who was so involved in our community in so many different aspects. We would like to take a moment for silence for John Ellis. Thank you. If you're passionate about making a difference and want to develop the skills, connections, and knowledge to lead effectively, consider joining the next Leadership Evergreen class. Applications open in August of 2025.
All right, so introducing the Evergreen Town Hall series created by the class of 24. Our class deeply benefited from direct access to community leaders, rich insights into Evergreen's history, and greater understanding of how our unique community operates. So much so that we wanted to create a platform to extend these same benefits to the broader community. The Town Hall series is designed to foster community connection, encourage inclusive dialogue, and provide a central gathering place for engagement, and hopefully a positive alternative to sites like Evergreen Friends and Neighbors. We believe that when we come together, face to face, neighbor to neighbor, we build stronger, more informed, and connected Evergreen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ronnie Damana. I was lucky enough to be part of this wonderful class of Evergreen, Leadership Evergreen 2024. And I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And this is really, really impressive to see this many of our community members show up and show that they care about Evergreen like this. So thank you all for coming to the inaugural Evergreen Town Hall. As we kick off what we hope will be a long-lasting and perpetual event, meaningful series of communication, I want to remind everyone that the forum doesn't exist. This organization that we created doesn't exist. Meetings like this don't exist without your voice and your input. So on our website, at the top of our website, which is evergreentownhall.com, and you can scan any of those QR codes also, we have a spot for, what do we call it? Offer feedback, sorry, lost my spot. That's where is really your space to tell us how we can improve not just this town hall and the meeting itself, but our organization structure, what kind of questions to ask, what kind of topics you want to see in the future. And we even will have a suggestion jar in the back at the end for those of you that would rather give your feedback in the old-fashioned way. But whichever modality you want to use to let us know, I want everybody to know that it doesn't happen without that feedback, and that feedback's extremely valuable. In fact, it's already making a difference because the topic we have tonight of infrastructure, the community speakers that we'll have tonight are all driven by what we've already seen on our website and what many of you in this room have let us know that you would like to hear about your Evergreen community. There are going to be flyers available in your folders that have different events that are coming forward. And I want and hope that all of you join us in the future for more town halls, and I hope that we can keep building this together. Thank you guys for coming, and I'm going to pass it to my friend, Dr. Julia Casper.
Hello, it's so good to see everybody. I'm so happy so many people showed up. So I get the honor of doing the announcements. So one of the first things I wanted to let everybody know is that there's an upcoming election for two of our special districts. The Evergreen Fire Protection District and the Evergreen Parks and Rec District will have their elections on May 6th. The fire department, the walk-in voting will be at the fire station off Bergen Parkway, and then the EPRD's election will be at the Buchanan Rec Center. And for more information, you can go to their websites, and you can also request an absentee ballot if you'd like that. And also you'll find out a little bit more from our speakers, but due to our unincorporated status, these elections are critical to voicing how you want our tax dollars spent. So please go out and vote. I don't know about you guys, but this weather that is so beautiful outside is making me very excited for summer. And summers in Evergreen are so special. We have so many fun events in our community. And a few of my favorites that take place over the summer are the rodeo and the parade, which is in June over Father's Day weekend. The Summer Fest, which is July 19th and 20th. The Jazz Fest, which is July 25th through 27th. And then the Dam Duck Derby, which is August 2nd. Did you know that there's an app for Evergreen? I did not know this, I learned it. It's called Everything Evergreen, and it's hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. So I mentioned a few of the summer events, but if you get the app, it will have access to all of the events that I mentioned, plus everything else that takes place year-round in our community. And it's a great way to stay connected and then participate in all of the events that are around town. So if you get a chance, grab that app. And I also wanted you to know that we are planning another town hall. So this is our inaugural one, and we are planning on having them on a regular basis. So if you can mark your calendars for October 9th at 5:30 p.m. The location is still to be determined, but we'll be posting updates on our website at evergreentownhall.com. So please mark your calendars. We'd love to see you there again. And then 2025 is also a big year for Evergreen. It's our 150th anniversary. And I believe Nancy Judge is going to be giving us some more details on some of the events that will be going on around town in honor of this milestone.
Hello everybody, I'm Meghan Mitchell. Thanks for coming. I'm also a member of the class of 2024 Leadership Evergreen, and for somebody that's lived here for, well, like I said, like to say the 1900s, you know, I should have done this the first year I moved here. I learned so much through the history alone, so I encourage everybody to apply in August. But we're excited to bring tremendous expertise and facilitation through our moderator, Gionet. Alan will host the panel discussion and bring questions that you have submitted online to have the panelists respond and provide their thoughts. Alan will also facilitate the transition of speakers. Today, since this is our first town hall and we wanted to ensure the community understands the intent and purpose of these gatherings, we are limiting questions to those submitted in advance. In the future, we welcome feedback on the use of live questions and answers and how the community feels this would or would not benefit these meetings. Please use the Offer Feedback tab on our website to contribute these thoughts, and we also welcome this kind of feedback at our suggestion box outside. So as you know, we have no agenda here. We have included some information in our packets, just that information that people have provided us. As you know, we have an election coming up, but as the Evergreen Town Hall, our agenda here is to inform you. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our MC, Gionet.
Leadership Evergreen, a brilliant idea to come up with the idea of town hall. Let's give them a hand for what they've done. Weather is gorgeous and you guys came and it's awesome, and I think Megan thinks it's okay that we all show up on the deck at Cactus Jack's afterwards, right? Is that cool? That is wonderful. You know, I've been here since the mid-90s. 96, I think we first bought a house, and moved up to Alphenal at that point in time, then moved away for a little while, but that's when I first started enjoying everything around Evergreen because we had friends up here, and my wife and I ultimately had 4 daughters, parsley, sage, rosemary, and arsenic. One of them's kind of mean. No, they're great. My daughters are doing beautifully and wonderfully and doing great things around the world, all the way in Prague and here in Colorado as well. So, you know, just being in Evergreen and having our lives here has been terrific. And it's been a joy, and it's wonderful to see people coming together in a room to learn more. So thank you for showing up. We appreciate it very much, and thank you to everybody who's participating in this tonight. So what I do want to do is introduce the people who will be presenting tonight, and we are going to start with Eric Gill. I think I'm on the right spot with our plan here, right? Okay, so Eric, I'm going to give you an opportunity. There you are, right there. Eric Gill is with the Evergreen Legacy Fund, and it has been a great thing through the years to do wonderful projects in this community. So Eric's going to give you a little presentation. So here he is, Eric Gill, folks.
Going first, this is you know, it's only going to get better from this speaker. No, I'm just kidding. I want to say thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak about the Evergreen Legacy Fund. There's some handouts outside that I hope you grab some of these. I've been on the board for 12 years now of the Evergreen Legacy Fund, and it's been a fun ride. We've learned a whole lot. Like all bits of Evergreen, we've changed our name a few times to D, to Greater D, to the Evergreen Legacy Fund and Foundation as well. So like, you know, normal Evergreen. You guys have given me 8 minutes, so I'm going to talk really fast, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions, and I'm not going to be able to answer those questions because of how this format goes, but our website is the best tool, evergreenlegacyfund.org. We've got a video, we've got a lot of fun stuff on there, so please circle back to that. This organization has learned a lot in this process, and we've been partnering with Jefferson County for the last 5 years. I'm going to rewind just a little bit on how we started, but as we all know, we're unincorporated, and being unincorporated, there's pros and cons to that. And we've got a great Evergreen Metropolitan District. We have a great Park and Rec District. We've got a great fire district, and we as a collective group, spin off of the Downtown Business Association, said, let's form an organization that can do infrastructure improvements. And so that's our core mission, is doing infrastructure improvements. So some of the stuff that these other special districts don't do, that's where we jumped in to say, hey, how can we partner and do some of those? In that process, we talked to Don Rozier, Old County Commissioner, and he said, you guys should form a local improvement district and see how that works. In the process of doing that, we learned a whole lot about being unincorporated and our rural design guidelines. The rural design guidelines is a different playbook if you're not incorporated. And so how that playbook plays out is a little bit different than Morrison and Golden and Littleton and Arvada and Wheat Ridge that are incorporated, that are all still in unincorporated Jefferson County, but they have a different playbook. Some of that stuff, we said, hey, how can we get that up here? Because we would like some of that infrastructure improvement. So we looked at their master plan. Jefferson County has a master plan, and we said, well, let's learn about that, and then let's look at where we can inflict change. There's four activity centers in that master plan of Evergreen. There's the El Rancho, where Home Depot and El Rancho is. There's Bergen Park, where King Soopers and Bergen Park is. There's Central Evergreen, I'll call that the post office to Taco Bell, that whole little area. And then there's the Main Street, which Main Street is a pretty big swath of Main Street all the way up Buffalo Park to the high school and the rec center up here. So of those four activity centers, that's where we poured all of our energy of getting feedback from the community and where we can make some change. I'm going to tell you about a few projects that we've done already. Evan and the other guys from Jeffco are going to talk about some future projects, but let me just kind of wow you a little bit when you say, who is this group called the Evergreen Legacy Fund? So the Connector Bridge was our first project. It's from the top of the dam on Main Street down towards Baskin Robbins. So that little connector bridge where people can ride their bikes or strollers and not have to do the stairs if they want to walk on a portion of that lake. We partner with Jefferson County to do the Master Trails Plan. We learned through this process that if you get your trails on the Master Trails Plan, then it's easier to work with Jefferson County to actually do these projects. That was back in 2015. County Road 65 in front of the Center for the Arts, we did a little crosswalk there with a blinky light. The four-way stop in front of King Supers, we upgraded that little four-way intersection and made it where it's crosswalk friendly so pedestrians can get around. The Riverwalk in front of Highland Haven, that Independence Trail is a one-lane road now and it's restriped so you can walk along Independence Trail. We also added 5 parking spaces right from Revival Brews, between Revival Brews and Highland Haven. We've done several murals. The mural underneath Main Street we did with the partnership with the elementary school. We also partnered with, Gill I should say, partnered with EMD and did a mural on the side of their building down off Main Street. A couple others, sorry, I'm talking as fast as I can here. Partnerships, we've got a couple other partnerships that we've done as well with the PTA. We're doing a bleacher project here at the high school. EPRD with the North Lake Trail, we gave $50,000 for some seed money to do that. Leadership Evergreen, which I was in the class in '99, and I'll plug that, you guys should get involved if you haven't been involved with Leadership Evergreen. My friend John Ellis was in my class back in '99, and I know a whole lot about this process, and that's probably why I'm sitting on some of these crazy boards I do sit on. But we partnered with Leadership Evergreen to help them with the drinking fountain and the mural at the CenturyLink building. Last but not least, and I'll shut up after this, Hatch Drive. When you guys pull out of the parking lot tonight, hang a left, and you'll see a new intersection at Hatch Drive in Buffalo Park. That little sidewalk configuration, the crosswalk where the little blinky light is, and that was one that we completed with Jefferson County last year. Now, back to that Jefferson County partnership. Lesley and 2 other different county commissioners at that time, but Lesley allowed us to form a local improvement district where we self-fund those projects. When I say self-fund those projects, most projects, when you're talking to the county, they're tax-based and they're driven by sales tax or property tax. We said, hey, can we do this and self-fund these projects? And so we kind of put our neck out there and said, let us fail, but I don't think we will. And Lesley was one of our cheerleaders that totally got us this opportunity with Jefferson County. I want to thank you for that. We are allowed to do 17 projects with them. We've done 7 to date. I just listed off 13, so as you can tell, we've only done 7 with Jeffco, but these other ones with other partners out there. And lastly, how we are funded. We have a voluntary 1%, so when you go to some restaurants in town or I'll pick on Highland Haven, you go to Highland Haven and stay, there's that voluntary 1% that she puts on there. And then also just people like me and you that contribute. So we write a check. We've got a big check from one of our donors this year of $13,000. So it's just nice people that want to see this infrastructure improvement done, and they write us checks. So yeah, I'm asking for money. We want people to join. Linda Kirkpatrick is our executive director. We partnered with her about a year ago, and this organization has gone straight up, which is awesome just because we've got a little better leadership and just more organized. So we've been able to accomplish a lot. I'll say one quote. Gail Riley at Highland Haven says, we're building legacy for our kids and our grandkids. That's why we do what we do. So thank you very much. I hope that was a little less than a minute. Thank you.
It is such a great opportunity to learn, and I'm glad you mentioned that Linda is here, because I was going to say, is Linda Kirkpatrick here? Because I've read the history of incorporation. Did you read it in your handouts? And really terrific. If you haven't read it yet, I learned a lot out of that almost immediately that I did not know. I did not know that Walmart had attempted to place in Bergen Park at one point, and many other things in there, and all the consequences of incorporating as a city and kind of made me feel a little bit more comfortable with the way we are right now after looking through that. But what a terrific history it is. Next will be Lesley Dahlkemper, our county commissioner, who's here to talk about many things. And Lesley, I know there's a big variety package for you, so come on up and let's have it.
Hi everyone, it is great to see you this evening. I'm Lesley Dahlkemper. I'm one of your 3 county commissioners, and I serve alongside Rachel Zenzinger and Andy Kerr on the Board of County Commissioners. As many of you know, we are elected by you countywide, and I have the honor of representing District 3, which includes much of Evergreen, although I share some of Evergreen with Andy Kerr, and Rachel Zenzinger represents North Jeffco. But again, the decisions that we make as a Board of County Commissioners affects the entire county. And one of the biggest decisions we make is how we allocate strategically and thoughtfully your taxpayer dollars for infrastructure, public transportation, human services, public safety, wildfire resiliency. I can go on and on, but I know that I only have 8 minutes. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this evening, and it's great to see this kind of a turnout for tonight's inaugural town hall. Huge thanks to Leadership Evergreen for your tremendous work and leadership. I remember when this was an idea several months ago, and now it's a reality, and it's so exciting to already have the October date, which I've already texted to the other 2 commissioners, so we have it on our calendar moving forward. I also want to just quickly say, before I talk a little bit about 1A, which some of you are familiar with, that we cannot do this work without you. No question about it. The partnerships that we have with Evergreen Chamber, with our nonprofits here in Evergreen and the surrounding foothills community, with Parks and Rec, so many of you, with our businesses and others, faith-based community, really makes a difference in terms of our effectiveness as your elected representatives. And as some of you know, I often take personal offense when I hear someone say, we don't have any elected representatives. We don't have a mayor, but you do have 3 county commissioners who care deeply about your quality of life here in Evergreen and across Jefferson County. I was asked to talk a little bit about 1A. How many of you are familiar with 1A in Jefferson County? I want to take a moment first to thank our Jefferson County voters who approved 1A, which removes artificial caps related to the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. Many counties already remove these limitations. Counties like Douglas County, that was one of the first counties to remove it. And we on the 3rd try, were successful. We worked with our community. We asked you, what would you like to fund in terms of infrastructure, roads, public safety, wildfire, and more? What are your top priorities? And you really told us that it came down to 2 key areas: public safety, which I'll talk about in a moment, as well as roads and infrastructure. In fact, we're going to talk about transportation tonight as well. When it comes to public safety, we know that response times in our foothills communities are especially important. We know as the top area in the state, the top county in the state, for wildfire risk, when you combine the number of structures and our population, that wildfire resiliency is a priority. And we've done a lot, and there's always more to do on this front. In fact, just today, I spent most of the day as a member of the Colorado Fire Commission talking about the soaring rates of homeowners insurance and what we're doing to work with different partners to get our arms around those issues. How we're thinking about mitigation, hearing concern among some community members about how mitigation is being done, but also hearing support from others in our community who recognize that we've got to balance public safety with ensuring that you still have a good, positive trail experience when you visit our local parks that are part of our amazing Jefferson County open space infrastructure. We are looking at approximately $60.5 million this year that we can put toward public safety and infrastructure. And one of the things that I especially wanted to flag for you as involved members of our community is that we will be pulling together a Citizens Advisory Committee. We are looking for 2 representatives from each of the 3 districts that each of the commissioners represent. So I'd like to plug that for those of you who might be interested in joining that Citizens Advisory Committee, who will give us feedback on where we're looking at allocating those dollars in our community. And we want to make sure that our Foothills community is strongly represented. And you always are part of our conversation. We'll talk later about our Together Jeffco initiative as well. But look for more information about the Citizens Advisory Committee on jeffco.us. We will have an application process, and we'd like to move that forward as quickly as possible. In fact, we want to begin leveraging those 1A dollars as soon as this year. And we're looking at specifically the wildfire resiliency component and working with Sheriff Marinelli, who's been an extraordinary leader and a great partner on this front, along with our Jeffco Open Space team and so many other partners as well. And I have to give a huge shout out to one of our biggest partners, and that's Evergreen Fire. I saw Jess Moore here a little bit earlier, and again, just a huge round of applause. So thank you guys for your partnership and your leadership, and also Chief Luigi as well, and all of our fire chiefs who help us with this work. Again, 1A, we'd love to hear your thoughts moving forward, and I want to thank you so much, and really looking forward to our panel discussion and answering your questions. Thanks so much.
I checked my watch too, as I said, oh, it's a politician getting up to speak, I better look out. But you did a great job keeping within that time, so good job. And I'm glad to have Jess Moore here too, for any of you who have, fire questions. And I don't know if we can set people upon you, Jess, or not, but she's always been very helpful when I'm working on pieces. And I've done some, if you're interested, about mitigation work and about some of the logic that goes with it. So, lest I sell my own work here, but if you just Google mitigation, Evergreen, CBS, you can see some of the work that we've done, and that may help you learn a little bit more about it. All right, next, Evan Brown is going to come up because we have some big road projects, and Evan is going to help us out with this. He's with Jeffco Transportation and Engineering, and as you know, we got a 73 project about to get going, so here's Evan, folks.
Pull the PowerPoint up here, got a full presentation. There we go. So I'll be talking here about the JC73 roadway project. This has been a long time coming. It's been in the works for a couple of years now, and that'll go from Little Cup Creek Road to Putner Lane. So here's the overview of the project. It's a quarter-mile section. Although it's a short section, it's a crucial and vital section to downtown Evergreen, as you all know. We are looking at this as a connection here for local and regional traffic. We're looking at this as a primary evacuation route and also the tourist destination to downtown Evergreen. Next slide. So this, I think, shows in simple terms what the whole project's about. Up top here, we have a cross-section of the roadway, as it will be when we're done with our construction. We're going to be adding and improving the length of the turn lanes on the Little Cup Creek Road, as well as adding bike lanes and paved shoulders for pedestrians to travel up and down this corridor. When looking at this project, I think it's really 50% a bridge project, 50% a roadway project. The bridge at Little Cup Creek Road is deteriorating. It's an older structure and it needs to be replaced. Besides that, we are going to be adding parking areas across from the existing fire station and down by the assist-to-sell building. So our project goals. The main goal is Replacement of the structure at Low Cup Creek. We need to replace this structure now before it deteriorates further. The existing structure is about 40 to 50 years old since the last improvement, and this is crucial to maintaining safe passage there on Low Cup Creek Road. Safety at that intersection, we want to improve the turn lanes as well as the sight distance up and down from that location. Also, as I drove in here, I saw 4 people walking on the shoulder of 73. We want to add a safe area for those people to walk up and down the corridor. This will improve accessibility downtown and public parking locations for people accessing the lake or downtown businesses. Next slide. We have several challenges here. Cub Creek is a major drainage way. It's a FEMA floodplain. We're going to be working within the floodplain and trying to mitigate the challenges there. We also have high traffic volumes, and we need to maintain traffic flow. I'm sure a lot of people in here are concerned about the traffic problems that may come with construction, and we've tried our best. We've gone through countless different operations to see how we can minimize that during construction. Aside from that, we have dense trees, an existing historic wall on the side there, the active fire station and emergency access, as well as parking and people who are going to come recreate in Evergreen, or citizens here who need to live and come downtown. Next slide. So here's a detailed look at the cross section. I don't know how much everyone here wants to get in the details, but I figured we'll be transparent and show exactly what we're doing here. We're going to have a 4-foot paved shoulder, 11-foot turn lanes. The existing turn lane's a little bit narrower than that. We're going to have full 11-foot lanes going up and down, and a 6 to 7-foot paved shoulder throughout the stretch of JC 73 going downtown. With that, we'll have some protective wall and then a retaining wall to hold up against Cub Creek. Next slide. So again, in detail, these are our high-level construction plans here. We'll be adding everything you see shaded in blue is going to be new shoulder added to the roadway. We'll be replacing pipes. Under JC 73, there are a lot of old corrugated metal pipes that need to be replaced, and we're going to improve that with concrete and HP Storm, high density plastic pipes. Keep going. Here we get to the intersection at Low Cup Creek Road. The existing structure allows for 2 lanes coming in and out. We're going to widen that to be able to fully fit 3 lanes safely, improve the guardrail around there, and improve the capacity of that structure. As we continue downtown, you can see more shoulder added, and we're going to formalize parking there across from the fire station. And then finally, getting all the way to downtown near the lake and the parking area there, we'll be adding full shoulders there to allow people to walk safely if they're parking there, going to the lake, and going downtown. And with that, it's hard to see on the slide. We have a shaded area showing where we're going to be resurfacing all of JC 73. That road's in a deteriorating condition, has a couple potholes, cracks have been sealed, but we'll be giving a brand new surface on the roadway through there. So with this project, we looked at a lot of different impacts we're going to have. There are historic wall and stairs on the north side of JC 73. With that, we're going to be protecting those the entire time with fencing signage, and our contractor won't be near those at all. There are proposed trees that have been removed near Low Cup Creek Road. We're going to have trees replanted and vegetation throughout the creek area. And then at Cub Creek, we're going to realign and temporarily divert the channel. However, we're going to restore that with existing materials to keep the environmental impacts to a minimum. The project construction contractor will be F&F Construction. The Board of County Commissioners, Lesley, thank you. We signed this on Tuesday of this week, and F&F Construction will be providing public communications for the project throughout the duration. That includes schedules, updates, traffic impacts and conditions, and a project hotline and website that citizens, you all can call or email in to have your questions answered. The project duration is estimated to be May through November. We're going to be kicking off a pre-construction meeting with our contractor in the next 2 weeks, and I expect them to start mobilizing out around mid-May. There will be no work during the winter months. We are aiming to have this project completed by the end of November. We don't want to come into a situation where we're battling weather, snow, icy conditions, and a roadway contractor out there. And Jeffco and F&F Construction will work as hard as we can to minimize the traffic impacts as much as possible. And like I say, I wish we could come out, wave a wand, you have a new road, new bridge. We can't do that. There are going to be some impacts to the corridor. We've worked through our contract to try to minimize those as much as possible. So, emergency access will always be maintained corridor-wide. I know we've had some concerns about this. Our contractor will have an emergency access plan, and that will be maintained 24/7 throughout the duration of the project. Work that interferes with traffic on JC 73 will not be allowed from 5:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and from 2:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. We really don't want to have traffic backups during the morning and evening rush hours when school buses are moving. We want to minimize that as much as possible. Throughout the duration of the project, 2 lanes on JC 73 going both directions will be maintained from 5:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Work that interferes, we will have our contractor dropping off materials, moving around on site. Can you go back one? They will be moving around site. It will not be permitted on any time during a 3-day holiday and from 12 noon the day before a 3-day weekend. We're going to stop them there and clear up traffic, clear up the roadway. There will be some sections of night work. We will, when we're paving 73, need to do it at night. We have a couple culverts that cross under 73. We'll need to do them at night to minimize the traffic impacts as much as possible. And again, I want to stress, there's no full closures of JC 73. There will always be 2 lanes of traffic moving, one in each direction. In orange there, highlighted, is our construction work zone. And you can see here, if you're local, which everyone here knows, you can take alternate routes. We are going to sign those as local traffic only and discourage there as much as possible. No UPS, no Amazon, no trucks trying to take Camel Heights or Forest Hill Road. I will say, if you're traveling that area and you want to take Camel Heights local traffic, it's allowed. But we're trying to minimize that as far as truck traffic or people coming out of town with oversized vehicles. Just quickly, I'll go over the phasing here. We're going to start at the bridge. We're going to be extending the bridge to the south. Go next. And then it will be work at the bridge. The majority of this project is going to be at Little Cup Creek Road constructing the new bridge. That will be the majority of the time and the majority of the efforts of our contractor. Through that, we'll be working to widen 73 in the meantime and make sure we're allowed to give 2 lanes of traffic the entire time. Once we have that side widened on the east, we will flip traffic over to the west and begin working there. And then finally, we have restoration of the site, removing our impacts for the bridge, and final striping and paving of this road. And this is the final restoration there. So for further information, please visit our website. It'll be updated probably bi-weekly, if not weekly. If you search JC 73 roadway improvements on Jefferson County's Public Improvement Project website, you will see updates there. And then our contractor's public information will be posted in the next 2 weeks. We'll have that ready to go. And please visit our website and see more information. We'll be posting it and keeping it up to date as much as we can. Thank you.
Thanks for the good view of that. And now we have a dynamic duo coming up. So we'll see if I can share the microphone. Representing downtown and the downtown business district, we have Meghan Mitchell, who is here, along with Nancy Judd from the Chamber of Commerce, and they're going to tell you a little bit about what's happening in Evergreen.
That Nancy had ditched me there. Hi, like Alan said, my name is Meghan Mitchell. I am the president of the Evergreen Downtown Business Association, and we're going to talk to you about downtown. So as you guys probably are aware, there's always construction going on one way or another in downtown. We have so many projects going on that we're thankful for. ELF has done such a great job bringing these projects to improve our district down there. However, we've had some situations lately that have impeded traffic down there. I think with the trail now open from EPRD, it has brought more people downtown. I know that the parking situation down there has been an issue, and a lot of the people that are normally coming down there to shop aren't coming down there. So we have some solutions for you all. I know that it's intimidating because you can potentially get a ticket for, I think it's like $80 or something if you are beyond your time. I want you to know that that is not something that we can control. That is a private landlord that does that. But we do have some solutions for you. Any of the businesses that are in the perimeter of that parking lot and a few others can give you a code. Nancy here has the code. Every time it changes, she has it. So if you want to reach out to her to get it, she'll give it to you. She said she'd give out her cell phone number for that. So we don't want to discourage you from coming down there because it's really important right now more than ever to support our local businesses. My husband and I, Gary, have been down the downtown for over, well, it's our 24th year this year of ownership, and we've seen so many changes coming through, and we've seen businesses come and go. So we would definitely want to ask for your support, especially this summer. It's our big time. I know a lot of people don't want to go down there because it's the tourist season, but we do have some great deals at all the shops for our local people in 80439 and beyond. So I'm going to give it over to Nancy. She's going to talk about the future of the construction where the burned buildings are.
So one of the questions that we get asked a lot is, when is Cow going to open? The latest and greatest that I know is that the husband and wife that are opening that business are opening another concept down the hill. And so they wanted to get that under their belt before they opened up the Evergreen one. There is still some work going on. The work did slow down once they knew that it was going to be delayed some. And so what I was told last week is that it's probably going to be June before it's open. I've heard that Evergreen National Bank, they should be back into their street location there by June 1st. And then the other question that gets asked a lot is the two burned buildings and the empty lot that's beside that. That's all owned by the same property owner. I can tell you that one little bit of that property is unfortunately on the books as being in the floodplain. So that means they have to go to FEMA to get anything and everything approved. So I'll just leave that there. I will say that the property owner, I spoke with him last week, and he feels as though they are going to get some good news from FEMA within about the next 6 months, so before the end of the year. And then once they have that, they can move forward with all of the building plans through Jefferson County Planning and Zoning. I can tell you I have seen the plans that they've had drawn up, and it's going to be beautiful. We just need to be patient. Because they're going to, the rock formation that's in the back of that property, they're going to build that right into the building that they construct. They're not set on exactly what's going to go there right now because they've got to wait on FEMA before they can even go to Jefferson County. But they're also concerned what's happening with the economy, right? So, you know, he said to me last week, he said, can downtown support another restaurant, or should it just be retail? And so they're kind of weighing all of that, and while they're waiting on FEMA, they're looking at what happens with the economy and what the needs are. And I told him, I said, well, if you want my 2 cents, You gotta bring back some sort of a candy fudge taffy shop, because that was killing it with both locals and tourists. So he laughed and agreed with me. And I think a lot of it is also tied in with what was, depending on how long you've been here, the Napa Auto Parts building, the building that is right beside Murphy's. And while I don't have as much of an update from that building owner, I know that there is still work to be done with planning and zoning, looking at you, Chris O'Keefe, and some construction, as well as parking spaces and all of that. And some of it does tie into, Lesley mentioned Together Jeffco. There is a separate portion of Together Jeffco that is focused just on planning and zoning requirements. And I just whispered sweet nothings with Chris a little bit ago. And the good thing is that we've been pushing for a couple of years now that when the new planning and zoning codes get written, that there will be some recognition of the historic downtown areas like Evergreen, like Old Littleton, so that we are not under the business of the downtown area is not under all the same requirements that are placed on, say, businesses that open on Colfax Avenue. There's just a little bit of difference between us. So that is coming, and I'm so super excited for that and appreciative of Jefferson County Planning and Zoning and working with us to recognize the need for those differences. That's all I got.
Thank you. And I just wanted to piggyback on what Nancy's saying. I mean, I think it's really, I think living here, we all know how unique Evergreen is, and this is our objective tonight, is to tell you how difficult it is with those uniquenesses, because we have building codes that are the same, that are down the hill and whatnot. So as we do things here, it does take a little bit longer, but we do have coalitions and people that are getting organized. We just met with all the downtown, well, not all the downtown, but some of the downtown landlords just last week, because we want to get unified in what we're doing. We want to have the same planters. We want to be able to make it look pretty down there. What you guys don't realize is this is just a bunch of landlords. We don't have any city that comes in and makes it look pretty. So again, for future projects of Leadership Evergreen, maybe there's something we could do with downtown. But for now, we got each other, and so we need your support more than ever. So, and what we have going on this summer is amazing. We have 150 years as Evergreen. We can date it back to when we became a post office. And I'm going to have Nancy here explain some of the things we have, sacred spaces, if you've seen in your folder, going on each month. So she's going to talk about that before we get off the stage.
So starting last year, we started to bring together people who have been involved with the history of Evergreen, whether they've been a resident here for a long time, have been part of the Evergreen Mountain Area Historical Society, all different types of areas, bringing them together. And what this group came up with was a monthly event on the first Saturday of each month from 12 to 2, and it's called Sacred Spaces. And each one of those events focuses on a different part of Evergreen. So the first one was in March, and that was up at the Bergen Fire Admin Building, and that one was focused on North Evergreen. And if you joined us for that, it was super enlightening. We had an elder from the Arapaho tribe come in from Oklahoma to talk about even prior to 150 years ago. So it was such an honor to be in his presence, for sure. We just did another one on this past Saturday, and that one was a walking tour of downtown Evergreen. And John Steinley, who many of you may recognize that name because he wrote the book about Evergreen, the history of Evergreen, he led that, and we ended up at Highland Haven with Gail Riley, and it was a little chilly on Saturday and wet after all that snow and stuff, so she was so kind to open up because she and her husband literally built around the Daly Cabin, which is an historic structure, and opened it up for everyone that was there to see it and to enjoy some warm beverages. So thank you, Gail. We will continue with these events, and the May event is May 3rd, I believe. It is going to be at the Lake House in the Warming Hut. the first building on that property, and that one is going to be focused on what was the Dedis Ranch and how that came to be and how it's come to be what it is today. So please, we look forward to you joining us. I will mention a little off the schedule is that we're going to do a bigger event on July 3rd. That one's going to be up at the Buchanan Ball Fields. That'll be from 6 till 9 p.m. And that event's going to be called Illuminate the Past. And what we're doing is casting the net as far and as wide to any individual, organization, or business who feels as though they have a piece of the history of Evergreen to be there on the field so that anyone and everyone in the community can come out and learn a little bit more about this place that we all call home and we all love. So if that is something that you think you would love to be there, we would love to have you. So that's my first response. And I'd love to chat with you to see how we can get you involved. How that looks for each individual or business or organization is going to look different, and that's great because we want to have so much of the community as much as possible represented. We will have 3 hot air balloons on the field that evening, and they are, for the last hour and a half, are going to do what's called a glow, just so that we kind of shed light on our past and illuminate our future as well. So it's free for all. We'd love to see as many of you come out for that and enjoy and learn a little bit more about this place we call home.
So, yeah, I'm not going to let them leave the stage because at this point we're going to bring up our speakers and we're going to do a panel discussion over here. So back you go, and everybody else who has spoken to Evan, Eric, Lesley, if you don't mind coming back up as well, and we'll throw you over there. We'll share a microphone, and the way we've got it set up is any incorrect answers, the microphone will shock you. Oh, Jason too. I'm sorry. You guys, I forgot to bring up Jason. Oh my God. So, Jason, my apologies. I skipped over my notes and I didn't write it down. So, Jason Stawski from the Water District, because the Water District has some big projects coming too. But these guys, I think, can hang in there for a few minutes, and we'll do that. So, my apologies for missing out. Thanks for straightening me out.
Well, thanks everyone for coming. I'm just going to take a little bit of your time. I want to talk about some major projects that we have coming up. In the packet that was presented for everybody tonight was an unofficial 5-year plan. It's unofficial because it's a plan and most of it has yet to be approved. The first thing I want to mention is a lot of folks don't recognize that the Evergreen Metropolitan District is not the only special district that manages wastewater services up here. So there's actually 3 special districts. The Evergreen Metropolitan District, which is basically the downtown corridor, a little bit further south to Hilltop Road. The West Jefferson County Metropolitan District, which is from Hilltop Road north all the way to the El Rancho area, and then the Kittredge Sanitation and Water District. So I tried to provide a little bit of insight about what type of projects we will have coming up in the near future, but really wanted to highlight a couple of them that we'll have coming up here very soon. With the JC73 project, we have a very old 1954 water main that is right next to Covmont that we need to replace. So we went out to bid and received bids for this project, and we need to get it done before May. So our plan is to try to go out to construction as soon as possible. We'll be having a special meeting to approve those bids in the near future, like next week, and construction will begin very soon. The other project that we have that's coming up, that's a water main project, again, a very old water main. Some of you may remember in September of 2023, there was a water main break in downtown right where the old Cozy Cleaners was. That water main break resulted in about 400,000 gallons of water lost in maybe 30 minutes. It's a 3-foot break, and it's nearly impossible for us internally to be able to handle that. So we have received bids for that project, and that project is also going to be starting in the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting on permits. That one, like I said, is right by Cozy Cleaners. It's going to be installing a new water main underneath the creek and then protecting it with a seed pipe, basically. We also have a couple of major capital projects at the water and wastewater plants. The water plant is getting ready to go through a major remodel. which is, we call it the chem building project, but really it touches almost all the buildings. The chem building project is going to be to replace the chemical feed system, and I'm not going to get into it because it's very confusing for me, and yeah, I probably would not do a service, but it's about a $4.5 million project that we're getting ready to do at the water plant to redo the chemical feed system, to improve the operations building, and the combined filter effluent. So the state has identified an area where we take sampling, and they said that we need to reconfigure the piping over there. So we're going to get that done probably starting at the December timeframe. We're working on, at the wastewater plant on Meadow Drive, and eventually at the West Jefferson County Metropolitan District wastewater plant on Lewis Ridge Road, a biosolids dewatering project. This project is about $2.5 million each, and these projects are basically, they're taking the solid waste that is the byproduct from treating wastewater, dewatering it, and then hauling it off in a dumpster. Currently, the way it's done, and I'm sure you've seen the trucks, is there's 6,000-gallon tanker trucks that have to go and remove the biosolids. We average about 250 of those trucks a year for both those plants independently, so 500 trucks through downtown and through the area of semi-trucks. This is going to reduce that to 50 roll-off trucks per year, and it has about a 26 metric ton reduction in carbon emissions, and it also saves us operationally around $150,000 a year. So very excited to get that one started. The last project that I'm going to talk about, which is the one that's going to spur a lot of comments, the Evergreen Dam. So we're responsible for the Evergreen Dam. The outlet works for the Evergreen Dam has not been operational for a very long time, and it must be operational. It is a high hazard dam. The state classifies it as a high hazard dam. And as a high hazard dam, we're required to lower it 5 feet in 5 days, which we cannot do as water flows over the spillway. Additionally, water rights requires that we measure the water that is going over or through the dam for compliance issues. So we're getting ready to start, hopefully, around the same time as the water plant, which is going to be a nightmare for me, but to redo the outlet works of that, of the dam, as well as slip lining the outlet structure completely. It's about $1 million project. Once that's done, water rights flows only will be going through the dam rather than over the dam. But what does that mean during a drought? If there's no water coming into Bear Creek or less water than what we can use based off of water rights, water will not flow over the dam during drought conditions. That is state mandated. There's nothing I can do about it, so please don't throw your shoes at me. Once the outlet works are completed, we do have to lower the level of the lake because we have to fix the spillway. It's cosmetic damage that's on the spillway. It's been identified that it must be repaired. So the outlet works are going to have to be completed by 2026, the end of 2026, and then thereafter we're going to evaluate and fix the spillway. So those are the major projects that we have coming up. There's a lot more that I've listed in the handout, and if you have any questions, I will be around. Please come see me. I love chatting. Thank you very much.
For you, Jason. And chair.
That's right. You guys got it.
Go walk,
You spurned our panel. I am curious about one thing, though, and I might have you speak up about this. You talked about in the sediment basin work, right? It says we're exploring the conversion of the wetlands area into multi-use space. I'm going, conversion of wetlands area? Really? Can you explain a little bit of that further for me? But, let me speak very loudly so everybody can hear you.
Yeah, so this is very, very preliminary. Right now, our storage rights on the lake say that we can store 660 acre-feet of water in that lake. The dam was built in 1927, and in that time, we've lost about 200 acre-feet of storage because of sediment. We did a dredging project in 2016 after the 2013 flood, which removed maybe 25 acre-feet. That sounds about right. But ultimately, we've lost a lot of capacity on it. And so I've had very preliminary conversations with Corey Vanderveen at EPRD and with Denver Mountain Parks to evaluate an opportunity to look at the wetlands that are not hydraulically connected to Bear Creek currently and utilizing that space to meander the creek around that area and allow sediment to settle there, so we have a spot where we can capture it and remove it. Again, very preliminary, and this is my idea, and I've heard from another engineer that it may not work, so I'm not promising that it will, but that is great.
Thank you very much. You got out of the panel, but it still got work. All right, panelists, you know, so many places to go, so many wonderful places to start with, and you know, I've written down a lot of things to ask about, but you know, of course, Lesley, I'm going to start with you, and because I think one of the hottest topics of conversation, of course, of late is what's going on with El Rancho. You know, there has been some recent movement on that by the Buchanans, by the way, who are not long-time Buchanans of Evergreen. The Buchanans who were hoping to change over what's going on across the street there. They've applied for inclusion in the fire district. What can you tell us about what the latest is? I'm sure you're more aware.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ellen. You know, first of all, I want to thank all of you who've reached out to the Board of County Commissioners about El Rancho, and we know that El Rancho is beloved in this community. And this is a tension that we see in other parts of Jefferson County, and it's the tension over a place that resonates with us, the memories we have there with family or even growing up, and it is really a beloved part of Evergreen. And we also have folks who have property rights as well. And so one of the challenges for us as a county is how do we think about zoning in that area? And so one of the questions as I started to get emails from many of you was about historic designation. Was there something that we could look at along those lines in terms of El Rancho and preserving it? I want to talk about two quick things related to that because first and foremost, you've heard us talk about Together Jeffco. It's an initiative that we have underway, and one of the key elements of Together Jeffco is updating our comprehensive master plan. And that comprehensive master plan is an advisory document. It's a framework for how we make decisions regarding communities and how communities grow and develop. Your input is critical, and I was talking with our Planning and Zoning Director, Chris O'Keefe, a little bit earlier this evening. We have received 500 written comments, and you can believe a chunk of those are from and the surrounding foothills community with your ideas on how communities should grow and develop. And our team, we've got an incredible team at Jeffco, is responding to each and every comment. And you'll see those responses. We're looking at, I think, posting those on our website, and we'll be sure to share with you as soon as we know when those comments are posted. Together Jeffco is an incredible initiative, and we hope that you'll take the time to visit the website at togetherjeffco.com to share more with us about your perspective, because as we look forward, and as we heard Nancy talk about historic designations, one of the things that the plan recommends right now, we feel very strongly about as Board of County Commissioners, is Jeffco becoming a certified local government for historic preservation. This Colorado recognition would make the county eligible for grant funds to identify, inventory, and if desired, regulate how identified historic structures are treated. And that is really a critical part of this work and this story as we've talked about with El Rancho. We would also coordinate with the Jefferson County Historic Preservation Commission to be sure that they are also aware of important historic structures or landmarks that should be recognized and protected, and making sure that they're helping us identify grants as well, or other ways to protect these historic sites. So that's a little bit about what we have in the future regarding historic preservation, because I know that has been a key issue in terms of the feedback that I've received from a number of you in our community. Can't we designate this as a historic site? And right now, we have to put in place these other elements, but you can be certain that we've also included it as part of the comprehensive master plan.
Yeah, the way it works is that historic designation has to be done by the owner of the property right now, right? So you can't put an historic designation on there right at this point. That would have had to have been put on there by either the current or prior owners, and nobody has ever designated it as such, right?
Yeah, that's right. And the property is zoned for this type of development at this point in time. So we have not received an application. I'm looking at Chris we We have not received an application yet from Quick Trip, which is one of the proposals that we expect to see. But they will have to meet key criteria that are outlined in the comprehensive master plan. Everything around lighting, around wildlife, around all those sort of core components, environmental issues and concerns. And so when we get their application, you can bet that our team will be looking at all of those key criteria very closely.
You know, as we talk about that, Evan, I'm wondering when, let's say, Quick Trip goes in there, right? There's going to be changes in traffic, and people have talked about that. Would you have to approve a traffic plan in Jeffco? Because there's nothing that, if people oppose this project, the zoning is already there for Quick Trip to put up a facility. But the question would be, is there any limitation upon traffic that would reduce the potential of truck traffic and things of that nature there?
So that would come when they submit, if they do submit their site development plan. With that, they'll have to submit a traffic study for the site and show us the proposed impacts that would have, which planning, zoning, and transportation and engineering staff would review thoroughly to make sure there's no negative impacts. When they submit those as well, they must project out into the future, and we can review that from there.
Gotcha. And you know, as we continue to talk about this, and you know, other people said maybe somebody else could buy it, and nobody steps in because it has been a very difficult restaurant to be successful at, as you know, over the years. But you know, Eric, is this ever a project of historic preservation that the Legacy Fund, and I know there's a boatload of money that you probably don't have, and Chamber of Commerce, and you know, is there discussion to be had about creating some kind of evergreen cooperative to seek out the preservation of this building in some way? I don't know. I'm kind of, yeah.
I'll talk about that.
Yeah, you have it working? Okay.
So
there you
I'll
go.
talk
Just
about
stay close.
the Evergreen Legacy Fund, I'll just talk about that. All of our projects are on Jeffco's right-of-way, Jefferson County's right-of-way, or CDOT's. We've crossed a few little lanes with CDOT, but we have not looked at anything private property. As of yet. Go ahead, Nancy, you want that? You have the building.
Nancy, the Chamber of Commerce isn't flush with cash, but
No, we're not, but the Chamber of Commerce would have loved the first bank building, because in addition to being the Chamber of Commerce, we are the Visitor Information Center for Evergreen. So that would be the perfect place to be, right off the highway, and it was part of the Lariat Loop plan that was done many years ago to have something right there at the highway. So would I have loved it? Yes. Did I have multi-million dollars? Unfortunately not. And it was parceled together with El Rancho. So it wasn't even an option to purchase just that building. So Quick Trip has purchased the entirety of that property for $6.19 million.
Lesley, and I'm going to try not to keep on you, but when these planning and zoning codes are rewritten in the future, what do you envision there? How could we see Evergreen change? Anything to do with a project like this? Because as we just talked about, the zoning is already there. If people don't like the idea of Quick Trip, that's really a done deal in that way. When you rewrite planning and zoning codes, what things are you and others thinking about?
Thanks, Alan. You know, when we rewrite a planning and zoning code, there's a lot we're thinking about, and a lot of that feedback also comes from you. First and foremost, we want to ensure quality of life, and making sure that as we think about growth and development in the foothills community, we're also always connecting that to everything from water availability to wildlife and habitat. We're thinking about wildfire resiliency and community safety. Those are all core components of the factors that we look at and more. And that's why, you know, we don't miss open houses here in Evergreen when you weigh in on the Together Jeffco plan, and our team will come back to the Board of County Commissioners and say, these are some of the key themes that we heard from our foothills community, because those themes will be different than what we hear from other parts of unincorporated Jeffco, say South Jefferson County, Littleton or up north in Jefferson County as well. So we really want to work hard to think through those key components. And I know that there may be some of you in the audience, or perhaps many of you in the audience, who would love to see no more development in Evergreen. But again, we do have to look at issues like property rights and more. And we can do that in a way that continues the quality of life, that ensures it's compatible, and really pays close attention to those natural resources that I mentioned a bit earlier.
Okay, let's jump over to downtown a little bit, and you guys obviously have a vision, and we all drive through downtown and go, oh man, wouldn't it be great to do this or this or this or this or this? But as you pointed out, Megan, many of the businesses are renters, and there are limitations as to what the owners wish to do there, I assume. And I forget, do you own your own building at Cactus Jacks? You do, okay. But as you guys talk, as Chamber talks, and as the Downtown Business Association talks, I mean, is anybody dreaming up what downtown should look like as we hit this 150-year mark, at the 175-year mark or beyond?
It's funny you actually mentioned that, because we just met with a few landlords, and we're developing, Corey Vanderveen actually suggested that maybe as, landlords, we develop a master plan, just so we have some sort of a vision and collectively. So that is something we're just starting to put together. We don't have, there's a couple of landlords that own the biggest part of the town, and so right now we don't have their inclusion yet. That is what we find, often with downtown, is that you get certain people that are very interested in the landlords, but then not everybody. So what we're trying to do is do what we can. We're trying to uniform the places that we can, and we're hoping that they will just join suit. As far as a master plan, again, before Corey came to town, and I'm going to give him so much props because he has so many great ideas. We just thought we were just going to be this measly little, town that we were back in the, 1875. So, but he's bringing great ideas in. It's things that we never even thought we could do. Maybe some rafting down the little creek there. So we're always looking at ideas. We just need the participation. And what we don't need is for, situations like the parking lot and the constructions to scare everybody off. Because we need your support more than ever now. We have some great businesses down there that I think we are going to wonder who's going to be here next year. So, again, we just encourage you to come down there and know that we do have a vision. It's just very difficult to bring those members to the table so that we can all have the same vision.
I've often been curious, Nancy, Evergreen is essentially a veteran community. Have there been any studies done, or would you be aware of, how much money is typically spent within a community? And in Evergreen, do we do less per capita spending in our own community? Have you ever had a chance to look at that? I know again, it's probably, gee, if you had a lot of money, maybe you would, but.
So that would be based off of sales tax revenue reports. And whenever I've tried getting information like that from the county, because again, we don't have, our businesses don't report anything to anyone here in Evergreen, it all goes to the county. I've not been able to get down to that granularity. We are not out as our own group. We are lumped in as with all of unincorporated Jefferson County. And so that includes Evergreen, that includes Conifer, there's a part of Littleton, there's actually a part of Golden. So it's been a challenge to get that kind of data. I've tried.
Yeah, I'd be curious about it though. It seems to me, my feeling is that we don't spend a lot of our money here in Evergreen. And I don't know if I have thoughts on that, Megan.
We're one of two, I think, down by Pueblo, there's another town that has the size of our Main Street. I think Eric Gill can talk to this more than I can. But being that we're unincorporated and having the size of the downtown that we have, it comes with its own problems of even reporting, so.
Yeah. Please, yeah.
So people ask on Main Street, State Highway runs through Evergreen, obviously. with Highway 74. So Evan and Jeffco, they just have all the little finger streets, but the state highway CDOT takes care of that. Well, I think this is the largest main street that's unincorporated in the state of Colorado. And the reason is when we were trying to pave it, this is Dean Dowd and myself, let's say 12 years ago, the parking spots where you park your car, they had a lot of potholes. Well, the landowners own to the middle of the street, but CDOT has the right of way for plowing and taking care of the drive lanes. Well, Dean got a bid to replace or to repave the parking spots of where you park your car. It was $90,000 way back when, and we called CDOT and said, hey, we're gonna just pave these potholes and fix them. And they said, well, no, you can't do that, that's our right of way. And we said, well, we've looked at your book, because CDOT has a book, and they flipped through page 852 and said, this is what we get to do. And they said, well, in incorporated towns, we pave all the way to the curb. Unincorporated towns, we just pave the drive lanes. And they said, well, you just told us you won't pave the parking where you park the car, so we're gonna do it. And they said, no, you can't take care of our right of way. So, anyway, how it worked is, the next time they said, well, an overlay is gonna happen and we'll just take care of it. So now they do take care of it, but that's because of small town and just pushing. They take care of it all with the asphalt now. So that's just kind of how Evergreen works. I think it's totally different in Golden and Morrison, but that's how we got that little area paved.
So your work in right-of-ways would then not extend to the boardwalks along downtown and such, that would not be?
Yeah, all the boardwalks, I mean, my building, I own the Bear Paw building, and you take one large step out my front door, I don't own it. So that little parking lot in front of where the intersection is at the light, I actually plow it, I pay to plow it, and it's a CDOT parking lot. So me and my kids stripe it every year, and that's just Evergreen.
Yeah. Do you have, Eric, any thoughts? I mean, wonderful work is done. I assume everybody thinks that ultimately the job done along the lake was successful. I mean, I don't know. I think you can take a bow a little bit on that, right? And so.
The last row.
Yep, and so as I drove past it tonight, I'm like, what a nice wide walkway we have there. And part of this construction on 73 is going to give us that walkway too that we're going to need, right? And if you could, it's going to be on the west side of the street, and I apologize.
From the intersection of Little Cup Creek Road at the bridge, it'll be on the creek side. Once you get up near the fire station, we're gonna have a crosswalk there, allowing people to cross up to the north side, and then be near that parking lot, be near lake access.
Great, so it's nice and continual there.
Yep.
And we've been fortunate that there hasn't been more unfortunate incidents there as well. When you think of it, Eric, and these kind of pathways and such, what's in your long-term mind 25 years down the road? Did you think that far out? Or what are your dreams?
I'm only allowed to think of these next 10 projects. No, I'm just kidding. We've got a lot. I mean, we want to go back to the community. There's been some talk of what's, ELID 2.0. And so that has come up in a few board meetings, and a few of us like, man, I've been in this board a long time. But it's definitely out there. We still have a lot of work to do and raise some funds for these next 10 projects. So there's a lot to do still.
Lesley, I'll go back to you on the 1A money that's going to come in. Boy, it's nice in government to have a few dollars to think about where can we put this. Is there opposition in other parts of the county to placing it towards mitigation efforts? Could there be more grants for homeowners coming? What do you think about what's going to happen here? And are other parts of the county going to go along with helping Evergreen?
You bet. I think that's a great question. A couple thoughts to share. We've been talking a lot about Together Jeffco, and one of the real strengths of Together Jeffco is that we are updating multiple plans at the same time. Now, I get really excited about that, and I know that some of you may not be as excited about that as I am, but here's why it matters. Now these plans are working together, and one of those plans that we just updated, this was a recommendation that came out of our Jeffco Wildfire Task Force, now Commission, is our Community Wildfire Preparedness Plan. And I have to give a huge shout out to our Fire Management Officer, Brian Keating, who did a lot of the heavy lifting on this plan. This plan matters because it will strengthen wildfire resiliency across our foothills community and elsewhere. For example, one of the things we heard from our community was redefining the wildland-urban interface. We're in the wildland-urban interface right now. It's about 70% of Jeffco was. We've increased that to 91%. That will help attract more grants. But we're also watching what's happening at the federal level. And at the Colorado Fire Commission meeting today, we were talking about everything from the future of FEMA and what that may look like, to potential grants like the so-called BRIC grants. Some of you may be familiar with that. Those are pretty significant federal dollars. And having a wildfire preparedness plan in place with 7 to 9 specific action steps really makes a difference. But we want to complement that. Unfortunately, that BRIC grant is going away. So we learned that as well. So we've got it, the landscape is always changing. And so when it comes to the 1A dollars, we will be working with our Jeffco Wildfire Commission. They will be a sounding board for us. We'll work closely with our sheriff, because as you know, the sheriff is the fire warden for Jefferson County, with our Board of County Commissioners, our fire chiefs, water experts, forest health experts, and more, to really say, how do we breathe life into this wildfire preparedness plan? One of the areas that we're looking at, for example, related to mitigation, is how we think about mitigation on private property. And one of the concerns I've heard from some of our constituents is mitigation costs a lot of money. No question about it. How many of you have mitigated the property around your homes? So you know that can get pretty pricey. And in Jefferson County, we have one of the fastest aging populations in the entire state, and individuals who are often on a fixed income. So it becomes very difficult. One of the areas that we're looking at is home micro grants for homeowners to help offset some of the cost of mitigation. We're also looking at expanding home assessment programs. Evergreen Fire and our fire districts do tremendous work working with homeowners to help better mitigate the property around your homes. In addition, a couple years ago, again, thanks to the Jeffco Wildfire Task Force's work, we worked with Chris and his team to think about how we can ensure that when you add a deck, a roof, really critical, because it's not just about wildfire, it's hail as well. That is one of the #1 issues driving up insurance costs. How do we ensure that you're building with fire ignition resistant materials, that you have defensible space around your homes? Because we want to give every advantage we possibly can to our firefighters who are putting their lives on the line to protect your homes and our local businesses. Because we can see the devastating impact that it has on local economies if we don't take those steps and if we don't take them seriously. I will tell you, Ellen, just in closing, that when I talked about, listen, when I started as a Jeffco Wildfire Commissioner, as a county commissioner, I didn't know anything about wildfire. I was a former reporter. I worked in K-12 education for a long period of time. But I sat down with the chiefs and I said, what can we do to really make a more wildfire resilient community? And we've taken several big steps, thanks to all of those partners I mentioned earlier. And we still have a lot of work to go. So those 1A dollars will help us have at least some sustainable funding from year to year. But know that the 1A dollars will fluctuate from year to year. It always won't be $60.5 million. And that has to be divided between roads and infrastructure and public safety overall, of which wildfire is one component. That's why having your voice on the Citizens Advisory Committee is so important. We're looking at only 3 meetings throughout the year, maybe 2 hours or so each meeting, and getting your input on how we're thinking about allocating those dollars moving forward.
Keep the microphone, because I'm going to go to insurance.
Good.
Now, at the state level right now, there's some legislation, and I'll have to plead ignorance that I don't know the wording of the legislation right now on trying to ensure that we're able to get insurance. But from a county perspective, is what, if anything, can the county do to put pressure on insurance companies. I mean, I did a story not long ago with two people who have a wonderful house that has a stucco exterior, metal roof, they're extensively mitigated, they have a metal fence around their property, and they got drowned. So, I mean, I don't need to give you an example, practically you all know that they're all over the place. What can the county do?
Thank you. Just one really quick, I want to go back to one thing you asked just briefly, Alan. You said, what about other parts of Jeffco? Will they support dollars for wildfire?
By all means.
And I'm having some memory issues at my age these days. Some of you may be able to relate. But I just wanted to close the loop by saying, because of what we've seen in LA, because of what we've seen in other parts of the country, we all know the wildfire threat is not going away. It's burning faster and hotter. We're looking at climate change and how that contributes to it. So the good news is that I think now when we look at folks in Nevada who were poised to evacuate during the Marshall Fire and other parts of the county, they understand that wildfire doesn't just affect Evergreen. It knows no boundaries, and it affects our air quality and water quality. So again, one other quick note to lend more support countywide. It is an issue more and more people are talking about compared to when I first started. Just to close the loop on that. So homeowners insurance. How many of you have seen an increase in your homeowners insurance or simply don't have homeowners insurance? There was a stunning statistic that I heard in our Colorado Fire Commission meeting, and I think it was something like 20 or 30% of individuals right now do not have homeowners insurance, and I may be off on that, so I'll double check that data point. But the reality is that, as you know, insurance rates are going up significantly, and it's because of two major factors. Hail is a big one, and litigation around that issue, but also wildfire threat. And I want to recognize that the insurance industry is also working closely with members of the Colorado Fire Commission and other partners to address this issue. One of the top leaders in the state is our Colorado Insurance Commissioner, Michael Conway. He attended a Foothills Town Hall that we held last Saturday. Were some of you at that town hall at Evergreen Library? And he talked in depth. We had My Mountain Town there, and if you haven't had a chance, you can hear, go to My Mountain Town's website, you can hear directly from the insurance commissioner who talks about the challenges we face in the state. He also talked about the legislation you heard Alan refer to just a moment ago. It's House Bill 25-1302. It's one of two insurance bills working their way through the legislature. It just testified in favor of the bill on Monday on behalf of one of our statewide county organizations. And it would create two enterprises. One related to hail, to help you homeowners fortify your roofs and then get a break on your insurance. And then the other one is about reinsurance related to wildfire. But you're right, Eric and I might have, let's say we're neighbors. Eric gets insurance, but I don't get insurance. But we're doing the same kinds of things. So another area that we're looking at is possibly being part of a pilot project. Colorado would very much like to be part of this. That really looks at the inputs that modeling agencies or firms use to determine what the rate of your insurance might be. So we're looking at how do we make sure that they're using sound, good, timely, relevant data. And again, we are doing this work with the insurance industry, with the Department of Fire Prevention and Control. The Colorado Fire Commission has a special subcommittee on which I serve related to insurance. And if this is an issue you care about, I would also encourage you to share your stories with legislators who are considering bills like House Bill 1302. You can testify at a committee, and if you want more information on that, we can make sure you have it as well. But I do want to recognize members of our insurance community who are with us, because they also are facing major challenges as they navigate their way and look at major issues like hail and wildfire risk. We're all in this together.
Is that bill that prevents this sort of redlining, you think?
I think the goal is to have more dollars to tap to help offset some of the costs that homeowners are facing. And I think it also serves as a carrot more so than a stick, and incentivizes homeowners to think more about how you can look at a roof that is more hail resistant, that ultimately will save you money in the long term. and also demonstrate to insurance companies that we collectively are doing everything we can to try to reduce that risk.
And a poll of our audience, is wildfire or is insurance the biggest issue to you guys right now? I mean, for Evergreen right now? I guess then we'll jump back over. I'm gonna pester you guys about downtown again now, but I had a great conversation not too long ago with a guy named Ken Klauber. He used to be a state senator. I don't know if anybody remembers him. Cowboy hat wearing guy out of Leadville. Fantastic guy. Great to talk to. Ken's not young, but he is a salty character. He's a wonderful guy. And we sat down. We had a great conversation about how they created the Leadville 100. And that was after the mine closed in Leadville, and Ken actually worked at the mine. And he said Governor Lamb showed up in town, and he, what are you going to do? And he says, well, if you lose your school and your hospital, you're done. You've lost 4,000 jobs. The town, they couldn't give a house away in Leadville. And he said, you've got to figure out how to make them stay overnight. And Ken said, that's when it hit me that we needed the Leadville 100. Because if they're going to run 100 miles, they're sure as hell going to stay overnight. So do you want people overnight? What's the answer to more business downtown, as you think creatively?
I mean, I think that's, always the question, how to bring more business downtown. We're so close to Denver, I don't know if we necessarily need as much lodging, but we do have tourism through weddings and so forth. We have a few bed and breakfasts in town. So I don't know if that would be enough of an infrastructure for, something like what you're talking about. But what we do is we market to, the people that want to go away for just a day. We have the lake there that brings up a lot of tourists, and then they funnel through downtown. So that's what we try to do through our marketing, is to grab those people that are going up I-70 that don't want to go much further. It's not really the long game for overnight, even though we do have some wonderful B&Bs. So.
I'll add that both EDBA, Evergreen Downtown Business Association, and the Chamber have marketing dollars that we utilize on websites like Colorado.com, which is a website that people who are looking to come into the state typically go and look for information. So there's that. There is a new digital board down at the Denver Convention Center. I saw Commissioner Dahlkemper down there, and when we had an ad running it. So the Chamber runs ads on that when there are high volume conferences coming in a given month. And we've kind of targeted some of those, maybe, we're busy in the summer. I think we're probably good as far as tourism numbers, and locals would probably say, we don't need nearly as many. But we can certainly take more in the winter. Downtown is dead a lot of days in the winter. So we've been using some of our resources to run those ads on that digital board in January and February, kind of highlighting the fact that, hey, just 30 minutes west of Denver, you don't have to sit in 2-hour traffic. You can ski, you can snowboard, you can go tubing, you can skate, you can shop, you can eat, you can drink. We've got it all. We've got art, all of it. So that's kind of the messaging that we're working to try to get out there. There are so many different places, whether it's online, whether it's still, the true fashion publications that are out there that you can spend dollars on, and it really just comes down to which are the best bang for your buck, so to speak.
Gotcha. Eric, what are your thoughts? I see you thinking.
Just one quick thing. Parking's always a big issue, right? We all talk about parking, and with the cow coming in and the other building that's going to be built, we're going to have more of a parking problem. That's a great problem to have, because that means businesses are thriving and a lot of people are coming down. I think we all get a little, if we can't pull in right in front of the store we're trying to go to, everyone's like, oh, it's a zoo. Well, I promise you this, if you go park on the backside of King Soopers, the time you walk all the way to the front door, you could actually park at Revival Brews in those little parking spots down there, or Evan and Jeffco, they're putting some more parking spaces down by Little Cup. And so walking from I'll call it the Fire Station 1 into Main Street, that's going to be a beautiful walk. It's gonna be wide, 4 to 6 feet wide, and park there and walk into town. I'm hoping people do that, and that's why these guys are building those parking spaces, because we only have a peak parking problem. And I say peak, because when I pull in the office at 8 o'clock, there's like 2 cars on Main Street. So there's no cars early. About 9 o'clock it starts, and then at 5 o'clock, by 5:36, it's dead again. So it's just during that little peak time, and if you're willing to walk just a little bit, all these stores need your businesses.
My brother is a landscape architecture firm that he's retired from, but he once told me it's about the perception of parking. People will go to a shopping mall, and how far will you walk in a shopping mall? You'll go in, and 70% of people turn right, by the way, little known fact, and you will walk a half mile. But if you can't park right outside of the business downtown, oh man, I can't do this. It's too much. Well, I'm gonna end things on time. And I really appreciate all of your answers and your sharing of good information. I hope you guys got something out of it. And I thank you for putting up with me. And wonderful to live among all of you here at Evergreen in our wonderful community. Thanks a lot.